Hey, what's up guys, my name is Charlie. Today we're going to be watching some more bonus content, and it's going to be the commentary for Angry Video Game Nerd Rob the Robot. Oh boy, I remember this episode. This was, I believe episode 100, and it was actually, I've been informed, was going to be the nerd's last episode. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I heard, so that's quite shocking to hear. But yeah, we're going to be checking out the commentary, so let's go.
Time for the AVGN theme intro again. Nah, screw it. Boom, let's just blow it up. And then every title card flashes before your eyes
Yeah,
before the 100th, which this is the 100th episode,
yeah,
and
I thought
Mike's
so.
final title card for the series, because none of us knew it would go past 100 episodes.
Mm.
The music in this episode was fantastic. There are two guys doing the score. One was Lachlan Barkley, who does a lot of video game covers and stuff, and really rocks them out. Sounds really awesome. And then the other guy, John Jennings Boyd, worked on a feature film called Book of Caleb. So that's how I knew him. And a lot of the music you hear in this was from that film.
This game sucked too.
Well, even though this is the 100th episode, it was kind of debatable. Like the Ninja Turtles 3 movie review was counted as 2 only because it was a two-parter, which
Yeah.
was only because it couldn't fit on YouTube as a whole. So there were things like that you could
Yeah.
debate. But either way,
It's a fucking
we
Rubik's
treated
Cube
this
again.
like it was the 100th because
And that
it's
sellotape.
about time to do something special.
Fucking Rubik's Cube.
This very much could have been a final episode if I were to do one. I would have never known I would have been doing more than 100. So I was amazed to have made it this far. So I figured this would start out as like the culmination of all the nerd's efforts. Every game he ever hated, every piece of shit that he's surrounded himself with and devoted his life to, he's just had enough at this point. Has the creator had enough?
I don't like them.
Well, sometimes I feel that way because it's such a big sacrifice, and the toll that all these videos have taken on my life is just, I can't even explain. But like the nerd finds out at the end of this video that it's something, all these bad games is something he can't live without. Just like the nerd is such a big part of my life, it's something that I could never give up. I love it. Gyromite is a really
Fucking
fun
toaster.
game. But it's meant to be 2 players, so you have to have a buddy to control those pipes.
Yeah,
The pipes
I
out of your
remember
way.
that. Mm.
So it's a co-op experience. But the other option is to use the robotic operating buddy,
Yeah,
or Rob the Robot.
it uses like 4 fucking batteries. The
These
big
are my
ones.
favorite parts in the nerd
Triple A.
episodes, where the nerd is not speaking, where everything he needs to communicate is done through the cinematics of the video.
Mm.
What I'm trying to do here is recreate the experience of trying to play the game for the first time.
Oh, okay, I get it. This is like some kind of 2-player co-op mode. Okay. Well,
Think about how less interesting the video would be if the nerd just explained it all flat out.
Yeah.
Then it would just be a game review and you would lose all those precious moments of discovery.
Yeah. You're right. Mm.
So the only way to play this game by yourself is to use the robot. And it's kind of a creepy concept to have an artificial life form sitting right next to you playing the game. So the idea of the robot being alive is a really ripe concept with a lot of potential, and I think that's
Oh,
why a
shit.
lot of game reviewers
the
have
robot.
already done the whole, Rob is alive thing, because it's the first thing that comes to your mind.
Yeah.
So I'm aware that it
Self-aware.
had been done many, many times before. The one that sticks out in my mind the most is by Awesome Video Games. They did a really hilarious take on the whole Rob thing. I knew my take would be different, but I also knew that I had to do a really good job on it. And the longer I held out on making this episode, the more pressure there was
Oh,
to
it's
make
that
it really
GameCube.
good.
There it is, the
I
GameCube.
had the Rob episode planned since the first year on YouTube when I was doing the Power Glove episode. It seemed logical that the next video would be another accessory. It would be Rob the Robot. But then I had all these ideas for it, and I decided I didn't want to do it unless I did it really good.
Yeah.
And when I was doing 2 episodes a month, there wasn't time. I just didn't have enough time to make it as special as I wanted. And then when the idea of the 100th episode was coming up, I
Yeah.
figured, hey, that'll be a good one to save it for.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you about a little mistake here. Right now, Rob is not supposed to have the spinning gyro tops yet. And if
Ah.
you look right about where my right hand is, you can see I photoshopped something out. That was one of the gyros because he wasn't supposed to have them yet. In fact, right now the nerd's going over to get the gyros out of the drawer. So I
Rubik's
fucked
Cube's
up,
still
and
there.
rather than refilm, I decided to just fix it in post-production. Let me tell you, getting Rob the robot to work, getting him all set up is just like putting together some kind of crazy science project.
Yeah, look at that. Fucking hell.
It's no wonder why Rob the robot didn't catch on and become a popular accessory, but I found it really fun to play, believe it or not, even though the video has to present it in kind of a negative
Yeah,
tone
negative
because it's the
tone.
nerd.
It's,
Really, it makes you think about the game in a way that you normally wouldn't. It
mm.
gives you a whole new challenge. It's just a completely different kind of way of playing the game. What you're about to see here is kind of interesting. I'm showing you how long it takes for Rob to actually do something, and it's pretty accurate.
Oh
So I'm
god.
trying to move that first pipe right now, and I'm recording the game footage at the same time I'm shooting Rob with the camera. So what
Wow.
you're seeing here is sort of a live multicam edit. Although the one with me in it on the bottom left there,
Yeah.
that was a reenactment. So that wasn't the actual gameplay. But a lot of the close-ups where you see Rob, he actually is playing the game, and that's the same game footage that you're seeing on screen, like right
Wow.
here.
That's so fucking slow.
So he drops the top,
Finally.
and
Yeah.
that brings the pipe down, and then only to have a smick come and kill you. You know, I kind of like what I did here with using the TV as a border to frame the shot, because I held off for a long time shooting any of these videos in the 16:9 widescreen format because I didn't really see the point of it, because the games are all in 4:3. They're all square, just like
Yeah.
an old TV. So I never really saw the point of going to 16:9, but eventually I gave in and I started doing it. And I'm glad I did, because it really helps with all the cinematic shots.
Mm.
Not to go off on a little, technical tangent right now, but this video was still in standard definition. I did not make the move to HD yet,
Wow,
because that was another
480p
thing
I'm
I was
guessing.
holding off on for a while, because I wanted to get a camera that was really good. I'm glad I did. I eventually got the Panasonic AF100, but right now what I was using was the HVX, and I actually made a mistake. I thought the HVX could shoot HD on the mini DV tapes, but it only shoots HD on the cards, and the
No.
cards were kind of expensive. They were P2 cards. They weren't the same as the the SD cards,
Yeah.
and it just wasn't what I expected, so I continued to shoot these videos in standard definition,
Yeah, that
thinking
sucks.
that, they're on the web, so what does it matter? But everybody was shooting HD, so
Yeah.
it would have been nice for the DVD, but, at least the 100th episode jumped to 16:9, so it's just a little detail that made it a little something extra special.
Well, I'm recording in 4K, so
This was the most time
I want to keep up to
spent
date with the
on making
future.
a single nerd episode. This was the most work I ever put into one of all time. The only episode that came close, very close, was Crazy Castle. According to my hourly logs, the Crazy Castle episode took me 122 hours
Wow.
and 15 minutes.
Damn,
The
that's a
Rob
lot.
episode, 122 hours
Whew.
and 30 minutes.
Fucking
So,
hell, that's a lot of
15 minutes
time.
longer. The Crazy Castle episode was a totally different kind of experience, because with that episode, I had people helping me.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's why that episode had some funny outtakes, and there was another camera we had shooting some behind-the-scenes footage. So there was really a lot more bonus features for the Crazy Castle episode for that reason. But for the Rob episode, since I was doing it all by myself, there wasn't really that many outtakes or any kind of, behind-the-scenes footage.
Yeah.
So I wish there was more documentation of the whole process of making this video, but there really isn't. And there isn't too much to explain either. It's pretty straightforward that what you see is what you get. But also on this DVD, be sure to check out the behind the scenes footage I have of this episode that shows some of the green screens and how some of the effects were done. And I do a commentary on that too, so check that out. So Rob moving his head there was all stop motion.
Yeah, I thought so. Mm.
And yes, to get his arms to move here, Rob had to be facing the TV so I could actually control him the same way you would in the game. But I explained that also in the other video.
How about Double Dragon 2 or Dr. Mario?
Rob also embodies the friend that you have who always wants to come over and play the same games.
Oh god,
Because
we've all
Rob
had
could only
those.
work with Gyromite and Stack Up.
Yeah.
It's understandable because can you imagine playing Double Dragon with Rob or something? It wouldn't work with most games. So it really is a special kind of game that you would ever want to do this with. And I said it was fun before, and you know, you can see here how frustrating it is, but the frustration actually is the fun, because to get Rob to work, you know, like right there, there might be another gyro in the way, and then another pipe will come up. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. One of the gyros might stop spinning, so it'll fall off. There's a lot of thinking that's involved to get it to work, so it's just an added layer of challenge.
Oh god.
When you're playing Stack Up, right there, that's the easiest mistake to make. And the gyros, if you don't keep them spinning, they're just going to fall off.
Yeah.
So you always have to move them onto the rotator.
Mm.
I always thought it would be funny if you could switch places with Rob. Imagine if he was doing the first player and you were doing the Rob the Robot part.
Yeah, that's
I
great.
always thought that was a funny idea.
Good
This
idea.
dancing bit brings to mind the episode of Awesome Video Games I was talking about where they do the Rob dance. That had me laughing so hard I almost pissed myself.
Hell with Rob. I'm playing by myself.
Can you play by yourself with Rob? That was the whole experiment here. Technically you could if you just use both controllers. And this foot bit here, this is probably the best way to do it.
Better yet.
If you don't want to use Rob the Robot and also don't have another friend to play with there.
Yeah.
These are the parts I really laugh at because the nerd is just such a goofball to build a Gyromite controller, and that he wouldn't even try to make it look nice. It's just trying to make it functional. Oh, right there is kind of tough because you can't cut the circuit boards in half. So
Well, at least
you
he's
could've
using
just
the
duct
tape.
taped the controllers together. It would have worked just as much. But it's such a sloppy job, and that's why I love this part.
I guess why that's the duct tape on the TV is for. We finally found a use for the
So
duct
the
tape
whole
on the
idea
TV.
behind the video was that Rob was going to turn every game in the world into Gyromite and Stack Up because that's the only two games that work with him.
Yeah. Could be worse. Could be fucking LJN games. Every
I
single
only
game
own
LJN.
one copy of
Fucking hell.
Gyromite and one copy of Stack Up. So this was all a
Photoshopped,
Photoshop
I
job
thought so,
right
yeah.
here to clone them and make it look like every game in my collection was being transformed. Rob's jumping around on strings there. Very difficult. All the lightning and all the electricity or whatever is all frame by frame in Photoshop. All the controllers are on strings.
There's a ColecoVision back there. Oh, Mario.
These are all old
Pac-Man.
tricks. Like right there, I have the controllers in reverse.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So they were
Reverse.
actually being pulled off.
Yeah.
Me. Just like in the
I used
Nightmare
that
on Elm
technique
Street
once.
episode, I did the same thing.
Use that technique in
So there wasn't really
filming.
anything too difficult here. It was just time consuming. This whole sequence here, it's pretty crazy to think that I didn't even have a camera operator. I was doing this all by myself.
Yeah, that's crazy.
All those POV shots and everything. It was just me lying on the floor with the camera. Sometimes I was holding it and sometimes it was on the tripod. all those boxes of Stack Up there. If that was real, that would be pretty impressive because
Yeah.
Stack Up is a pretty rare game to get it in the box with
Mm.
all the parts in it.
Yeah. I looked online for that game. It's quite
So this is
expensive
where the
in
plot
perfect condition.
thickens. Rob explains that he's kind of like a bad game Terminator. He terminates bad games and makes them all gyromite and stack up because that's his idea of a perfect game for, whatever reason. You'd know that if you saw the episode, so I don't even know why I'm telling you it. I even tried to tie it in with the video game crash of 1983 that Rob considered himself the hero bringing games back because he could have been the Nintendo mascot
Mm.
if Rob would have taken off, but it was Mario.
Of course it was Mario.
The robot voice was my own voice. I could have
Oh, it
gotten
was
someone
his
else to
own
do
voice.
it, but I figured I would just do it myself, and I put a whole bunch of filters and effects on it to get it to sound like that.
Yeah. I always wondered who
And,
did the
I could
voice
have
for
gotten
Rob the
someone
Robot.
else to film this, but with this episode, I was just trying to get it done and wanted to work my own hours on it and
Ooh,
just
ouch.
finish it as quick as I could because it took me an entire month to get this all done. The time it took to put all those lasers and sound effects in, and this part here, it was all frame by frame in Photoshop, so it just
Took a
it
while, I'm
wasn't
guessing.
anything that special. It wasn't anything that complicated, but it just took a long time to get
Yeah.
it done. And that's a hard thing to do when you got to come out with another episode in a month.
Yeah.
You can't just keep on working on it until it's finished. You got to have a deadline.
Yeah.
If this was to be the final nerd episode, I think it would have been a great way to end because at this point I felt like after 100 episodes I felt fulfilled that the videos have served their purpose. But if you would have asked me back when I was working on the Top Gun episode and told me, you're going to do 100 episodes, I would have been like, what? Like, how is that possible?
Yeah.
And it was possible because of the support from the fans. So I always kept it going. And this was kind of where I was just about thinking like, what if it would end here? And then, keeping it going.
Good for him.
So
It's good
right
he
here the
didn't
nerd
quit.
gets up and it's kind of funny how the nerd takes a lot of abuse and keeps on going. He's a tough guy, and I would
Yeah.
have never thought that because he was like a nerd character, but
Yeah.
he's also kind of like a superhero in a way.
Yeah.
He's like Rocky. He gets knocked down all the time, but
Oh,
keeps on
Rocky.
getting back up. So I took a lot of inspiration from different B movies. Like there's a movie called Gog, which is about these laboratory robots that go berserk. But my biggest thing I wanted to do was like a Japanese monster movie fight, like Ultraman or something like that.
It's like Godzilla.
I wanted to build a miniature city set and actually have someone in a Rob costume made out of cardboard. So it would have been just like a Godzilla movie, but I didn't have time. There was
Yeah.
no way I could have done that in a month. So I
Yeah.
had to resort to the cheap green screen. And I didn't have a lot of room for green screen in my basement, so it didn't come out that well. The ending was a little rushed. That was my only regret with this video, is that I think that final battle could have been a lot more epic. Oh, and by the way, right there, Simon's Quest, ending on the first nerd episode, of course. So yeah,
Wow.
other than that, I think the episode came out really well. I think the story was strong, and as of right now, I think it is my best nerd episode ever.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, and he continued to make the Angry Video Game Nerd episodes. I mean, I think it was like 166 episodes so far. I'm not quite sure, but I think there's like 166 episodes. So that's quite impressive. It's shocking that Angry Video Game Nerd, the Rob the Robot one, was the episode was going to be the last one in his mind. That's an interesting thing to know. But yeah, I mean, I'm so glad he continued making these episodes because we would have been missing out on something so great. I wonder if he's gonna stop at episode 200. Is that what's gonna happen? That he's actually gonna stop at episode 200? I hope not. I hope he continues to make these episodes until he's old and grey, like the Christmas Carol episode where he's playing the Wii in his old mustache beard thing. You know, I hope that becomes a reality. And I hope he gets to check out Street Fighter 2020. I believe that was an episode he was said maybe I'll check that game out in the year 2020. That's coming up close. That's just next year. So hopefully he will do that like a part of a special episode for us. Because that was pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, that was good. I enjoyed that very much. I learned quite a lot from that. I love the commentary videos because I like to see the sort of behind the scene footage and sort of what's in his mind, how he creates these videos, like reversing the videos, when the controllers are attacking his legs and everything, and he reverses the videos and rewind. I used to do that method in high school or something like that when filmmaking and stuff like that. But yeah, and he makes a good point when he bought the recorder 480p. I record my videos in 4K because I want to keep up with the latest sort of technology. You don't want to look back and say, oh, these are 480p videos. These are absolutely horrible. No, you want them the best quality possible, and that's why I record in 4K to stay up with the latest technology. So I'm trying to not make the same mistakes he sort of did. But then again, back then his technology was sort of limited because not everyone had like HD cameras, because it was more expensive at the time. But yeah, that was a good video. If you like this video, make sure to give it a like, comment down below, and make sure to subscribe to my channel if you enjoy my content. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.